Okay, good morning. My name is Sefa Ikpa. I am the program officer for the water campaign at Corporate Accountability and Public Participation Africa, CAPPA Africa for short.
Can you briefly explain why water privatization has become such a contentious issue, not just in Lagos, I think internationally?
Oh yes, it's actually across Africa. We have seen trends where the management of water is being changed from where the government is mandated to provide water, and that management of water has been given to private sector partners or players or whatever you choose to call it. In Nigeria, it has been pushed through what we call public-private partnerships. In Kenya, we have the water purchase contracts or something like that. There are different names for it across the continent, but fundamentally it's the same, that the provision of water along with all the service functions is being moved from the government to the private sector, and that is problematic on its own because a private investor has only one concern: profit. When they put in money in any sector, it's about one, to recover that cost of investment, and two, to make profit on that investment. Now, there are many examples where, privatization has worked. I often talk about airports around the world. PPPs have worked for airports, but when it comes to water, our argument is this: water is basic. There is no day that people go and they don't use water. It's like air. You cannot do without it. Where you are, how old you are, how much money you have does not matter. Water is a basic service and function of the government, and it's mandated by the government. In Nigeria, we have where our constitution says that the federal government is a custodian of the water management policy in the country, and the state is mandated to provide, make water run in your homes. So it's ideally the government should, this is something that is basic, so it shouldn't be outsourced to whose only incentive is profit.
Now, you actually pointing out some of the flaws associated with the public-private partnership, but some of the arguments that push forward is the fact that the PPPs actually attract much needed private capital for water infrastructure. What do you say to the claim that privatization is the only viable way to finance such large-scale projects?
Well, I don't know the claim that says that privatization is the only way. There are examples from around the world that privatization does not work. I'll give you an example. I think in May or in August, Lagos State government held LIWAC, an international conference, and the keynote speaker for that event spoke on the issue privatization in Manila. What he did not say is that after privatization, the cost of water in Philippines rose by over 300%. It doesn't work anywhere. We see Flint, that's in Michigan, where after the privatization of water, because the government could no longer ensure the quality of water, we saw people get sick and die in their droves. That is, you are using more money to buy even water that's not even clean. So there is no example anywhere in the world that privatization works. And it's a bit worrying because in Africa, because we are dependent on, external aid, external loans to fund our infrastructure, models that have failed around the world are being pushed here. So I really want to doubt when you say that there are examples of privatization of water that have worked.
What role should civil societies, organizations, and grassroots movements play in the decision-making process regarding water management?
One of the things that CAPPA advocates for is it's not only that the privatization of water is wrong and detrimental, it's also that public partnerships work. And there are examples from around the world. Senegal, for example, there are villages there where the management of water was handed over to Suez, and on paper we have seen that the cost of water rose by 75%. along with, tensions, people not getting water, and when the people complain, what Suez does is to put off their water. And this is in a time when there is no, this is in a time where there's no, of course, there's no alternative source. So that means that if you cannot afford to pay Suez or Veolia or whatever private sector player is playing, that means you just do not have water. So if the government was talking to civil society actors, they would know. The thing that we ask for is that communities should have a say in how their water is managed, because for them, the incentive for them is we need to get water. So there's no room to mismanage. There's no room to, dilly-dally. It's either that or nothing.
Are there examples of successful community engagement with regards to that?
Oh yes. Oh yes. Like I said, Cameroon, there's Senegal. There are a few examples in Ghana, but of course we've seen a bit of regression there.
Finally, what steps will you recommend that the Lagos State government take to address the water crisis in a more inclusive and sustainable manner?
Oh, for Lagos State government, I would say the first thing that Lagos State government needs to do is to increase investment. In 2024, Lagos State is one of the lowest states that have, I think they have only put like 0.05% of their fiscal budget in water or at the LWC. It's too poor for a city that is the largest in West Africa. I can say it's too poor. So the problem is when you don't invest, enough in the sector, you leave the sector open. So if World Bank brings money and they say, oh, you need to do this before you get access to these loans, you do it, which is what is happening with Lagos State. USAID comes in and says, oh, you need to change this, you need to manage water this way. And because Lagos State government wants to get access to that money, they say yes. RWA, which is supported by WaterAid and FCDO, and a number of them comes in and says, oh, hey, you need to do this to you need to change the way that you manage your water. And Lagos State government says yes. Why? Because they want to have access to that to those funds. So it's a tricky issue, right? I know that the burden is heavy on the government, but the alternative is worse.